We're sitting down with Todd today to talk about the past decade in video games. We have a few questions for you today. We know you have at least dabbled a little bit in video games and the art form that is games. Do you consider games to be an art?
That really depends on how you define art. I think of art as a personal expression, so just like film, games can be art. If you're thinking about a commercial advertisement, for products such as a beer ad, I think one can say it's artistically done. I think it would be debatable whether that's art. So I think video games are no different than any other medium in that sense.
Okay. Do you think video games will be seen as important mediums like television and movies rather than toys like they've been thought of as in the past?
I think it totally depends on the developers. The video game industry, which is hard to define as a single industry, but there is a choice on what content they produce. So if video games were to choose, if the producers were to choose to continue into a realm of more like first-person shooters, which many people are turned off by, then I think it will be relegated to a niche and continue to be viewed as something that isn't serious. I mean, for example, how the Game Lab is taken here, we're having a very difficult time communicating, educating people. I don't know if that's difficult, but people need to be educated on the relevance of a medium like this and a study of it. And it does not help if all we have on the walls is Halo posters, right? So I really think it's up to producers to develop media content that appeals to a broader audience. So yeah, I think in the long run it probably will be much more broadly accepted, provided it goes that way.
So, do you think games are just for hardcore players anymore, or do you think they're spreading out to everybody?
No, I think they're definitely spreading out. A lot of independent games are pushing it that way. A lot of serious games that are taking more content of educational content or training content or pushing it. And there's just there are some interesting games pushing the boundaries. But I think the hardcore gamer aspect is shifting. I think the virtual world, such as Second Life, is also helping that a lot because where that line between quote a game and a virtual chat space, which is Second Life, overlaps. I think as long as people understand that the definition of a video game is broader than maybe a common definition, then that will free it up from just a hardcore gamer territory.
Okay. Realistically, how do you see video games changing in the coming years? Do you think they'll become more like movies or start taking on their own kind of feel?
I believe they will increasingly involve the sensitivity of movies, which involves emotion. I think that's already happening, but I think in a lot of cases it hasn't as much in the past, perhaps partly technologically limited and partly just story limited. But I think more and more, like any good storytelling device, if you don't have character, you don't have anything. So as games become more and more sophisticated in communicating character, then they're on par with a respected medium in that sense, and then I think they're already evolving into something else. And honestly, I have yet to find or read anybody who can define that, because it's yet to be defined, right? It's a very broad, where could it go? It's like the advent of cinema, we don't know yet where it can really go.
Okay. What do you think about the casual revolution, and where do you see it taking the game market?
Well, you're talking about platforms like the Wii, and I believe that that's tremendously powerful. I think of it sort of equivalent to when the iMac was introduced with all its pretty colors. It's one of the things that I don't think people fully get unless you really look at design, and that people, we're like crows. We still like sparkly things, and the idea what I'm saying is we're drawn by aesthetics, and aesthetics give an impression of complexity or simplicity. So the beauty of the Macintosh way back when it came out was simplicity. The beauty of the reintroduction of the iMac was it appeared simple. And what that allowed when that happened was a whole generation of older people who were turned off by computers suddenly were engaged in them. I think the Wii has completely changed that landscape, and I think it's a very, very positive thing in that way.
Where do you see the industry going in the future?
Well, again, the industry, I guess, is whether it's the U.S. industry, which probably will continue to be the most dominant. I think it's difficult to break habits. I do. And so in a lot of ways, I think it will still be kind of like what we call blue chip stocks. I think they're going to still stick largely with what's safe, probably be some offshoots of more innovative stuff, but it's risky. It's risky to take on innovation. I mean, the film industry has the same thing. You get a film that's kind of on the edge. If they take it on, it could be a big financial hit, and everyone wants to follow it, or it could be a bomb and they take a loss. So I think I don't see it that much different than the film industry. It'll continue to grow, likely follow the same formula stuff, some really wonderful offshoots. But the technological advances and their effect on video games, are significant. So I think the industry continues to embrace this advanced technology. But the deal with that, though, the downside is that technology and the use of it is not cheap. And so what's happened to the industry is more and more studios are becoming just like feature film studios. So you have this specialization because to get that look, to get the quality of graphics and the realism, which is really the holy grail, completely photorealism. To get that takes a feature film studio plus programmers to a higher degree than feature films even require on animations. So I think really the industry will continue to grow, which that's really a separate issue from these safe projects, in just that it becomes more and more specialized, where there are these monsters where it's very hard for someone to crack into the market, but at least getting it marketed. They can crack online independently, but it's hard to break the beast, so to speak.
Do you feel that there's going to more people in the coming future will consider themselves gamers as the casual market gets larger and larger?
I think the term gamers is problematic. I think, I don't know. I think the term game and gamers is, kind of conjures this whole perception that people have about, 20-something guys drinking Coke and Pepsi. Hey, that's our love. And eating pizza, but no, seriously, I think the name is a problem. I think terminology is important to really communicate.
It really depends on, it's in the eye
of
the beholder.
I mean, think about it. If someone's into an educational game, they're into maybe a serious game that deals with, I don't know, the global crisis in ecology or with Middle East peace. Do they call themselves gamers, or do they call themselves, I don't know what, users? What do you call yourself? I think the language is important. So I think the underlying point, do I think more and more people will consider themselves affiliated with video games in a way that they're fully engaged? Yes. Do I think the name gamer will continue? I don't know. I think that's questionable.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.